Thank you. Today, the Trump administration is continuing its efforts against the government of North Korea. Despite multiple UN Security Council resolutions imposing international sanctions, the government of North Korea continues its nuclear and ballistic missile programs. Today, Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network has found the Bank of Dandong to be a foreign financial institution of primary money laundering concern under Section 311 of the USA Patriot Act. This bank has served as a gateway for North Korea to access the U.S. and international financial systems, facilitating millions of dollars of transactions for companies involved in North Korea's nuclear and ballistic missile programs. The United States will not stand for such action. This will require U.S. banks to ensure that the Bank of Dandong does not access the U.S. financial system directly or indirectly through other foreign banks. This action reaffirms the Treasury Department's commitment to ensure that North Korea is cut off from the U.S. financial system. In addition, the Department of Treasury's Office of Foreign Asset Control has sanctioned 2 individuals and 1 entity for their continued support of North Korea's activities. While today's actions are directed at Chinese individuals and entities, we look forward to continuing working closely with the government of China to stop illicit financing involving North Korea. We are in no way targeting China with these actions. We will be meeting with China and other countries at the G20 next week to further our efforts to cut off North Korea's illicit activities. North Korea's provocative, destabilizing, and inhumane behavior will not be tolerated. We are committed to targeting North Korea's external enablers and maximizing economic pressure on the regime until it ceases its nuclear and ballistic missile programs. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. North Korea. Recently, the congressman introduced about the North Korea travel bans. Do you Treasury Department have any guideline for the North Korean travel ban act?
I have no comments on that today, although I will say we will continue to look at a range of options as we are very serious about them stopping their activity.
Can you quantify the financial activity that you're trying to stop today and the access, direct and indirect, this particular bank had to the U.S. financial markets?
Well, this is very significant since this is the first bank that we've cut off under this, and that we will continue to look at these actions and continue to roll out sanctions. As I said, in this case, it's millions of dollars, but we are committed to cutting off all illegal funds going to North Korea.
Can you explain how it works, Mr. Secretary?
Yes, so when we put sanctions,
What they're doing now and what you're trying to stop.
this bank will not be able to access the U.S. financial system either directly or indirectly, so it's a very significant action.
Secretary, you made clear that this was not a punishment against China, but obviously the White House wants to be putting pressure on Beijing to take action against North Korea. Are you satisfied that China will see it that way, and with what China is doing currently against North Korea?
Well, I think, as you know, President Trump and President Xi have had very productive conversations about North Korea, and we appreciate their work and hope they will continue to work with us. Notwithstanding that, we are taking these actions to show the seriousness in which we are going to deal with this. In the back.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Can you talk more about the link between this specific bank and the government of North Korea? We're trying to get a better picture of what exactly they were funding in North Korea.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into the specifics of that because it does involve certain intelligence, but again, I can tell you we have very specific intelligence, and again, we will follow the money and cut off the money.
Mr. Secretary, would you be able to explain to us, I know you did the research, the actual economic impact this is going to have on the North Koreans and how that economic impact negatively may cause them a change in their position?
Well, I think, as you know, in Iran, the sanctions were very effective, and that's what's brought Iran to the table. And we will continue to work with our allies, and we will continue to speak to people at the G20. We are firmly committed to work with other nations to cut off illicit financing.
Mr. Secretary, was China given a heads up in any way about the action that you're announcing today? And you used a term that in your statement. Is China an enabler as it relates to North Korea?
Again, I'm not going to comment specifically on our behind-the-scenes conversations. We've obviously had very productive conversations with them. Again, as I said, this is not directed at China. This is directed at a bank, as well as individuals and entities in China. And again, whether in China or there anyone else, we will continue with sanctions.
Korea simply move their assets from this particular bank to another bank in China? Are they permissible to do
Again,
that?
if we find other activity, we will sanction other entities. Nobody's off limits.
Quick follow-up on China. Can you just characterize whether you think China's doing enough? Because last week the president tweeted, while I greatly appreciate the efforts of President Xi in China to help with North Korea, it has not worked out. At least I know China tried. It sounded like he was giving up on China. Has he?
I don't think the president is giving up in any sense. I think we will continue to work with China and everyone else. The president is firmly committed that we will cut the money off to North Korea until they behave properly.